Hello, and welcome to our episode of Todd Talks and Todd Talks. People, listen, it's only one blade. Only gonna be one blade. Hopefully. Should there only hopefully be one blade? Yeah, probably. I mean, not counting animated appearances, obviously. Live action only. But yes, today we are talking about the upcoming death battle between Blade from Marvel and Buffy the Vampire Slayer from television? WB? Technically Disney, apparently. I read that somewhere. So, yes, this is going to be a very interesting fight, not just because these characters are buck wild, but because this is the next live-action death battle. Ismahawk is back, finally, and this is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because there's absolutely no way that they're going to cover everything. Sorry, let me revise that. There's no way they're going to cover everything in the actual fight that they can do in the comics. It's literally not going to happen. But we're going to try. We're going to try. So we will start, of course, with Blade, a.k.a. Eric Brooks, who was born in 1929. Yeah, he's almost a century old. He old. And his parents were not typical people. In fact, they were part of a legendary order that was technically good guys, but technically not. It's Marvel Comics. What do you expect? Everything to stay paradigm throughout the entirety of history? So his father was part of a special order, and after leaving the order, his mother went into hiding. And upon giving birth to Eric, she was attacked by the vampire Deacon Frost, who drained her blood and passed his vampiric enzymes, yes, really, to Eric, which made him a Dhampir. That's Dhampir. Dhampir. So basically half human, half vampire. And because of this and some other stuff that got retconned later, mainly a Morbius bite, he is a vampire, but has none of the weaknesses. He's not affected by holy water, sunlight, etc., etc. So at first, Eric just tried to live his life, and then he met a Jamal Al-Fira, who was a vampire hunter, and after saving Blade from vampires, actually, Eric decided to become a vampire hunter, training under Jamal. And this would start a near century-long escapade to try and rid the world of vampires and various things that go bump in the night. Yeah, so let's be very clear here. And we're going to cover this at Buffy as well, but I'll just say it right now. They are both vampire hunters, but they fight more than vampires. I mean, that's part of their thing. Their main thing is vampires, like that. They're the slayers, but they fight a lot more. So for Blade, ever since he started his escapade, he would use his martial arts, his weapons, and any other things he could get a hold of to defeat vampires. And he's very good at what he does. All right. In fact, he's canonically defeated Dracula, the Dracula, multiple times. All right. Seriously, he's defeated him in like the 60s. I think he defeated him once like in the 90s. And then he's like, via the Blood Hunt, he defeated him more recently. And that's on top of all the other vampires that he's fought and killed, and demons that he's fought and killed, and were-roosters. Yeah. That's a thing that he fought and killed, and more. In fact, during his very long tenure in life, he actually was part of the original Mighty Avengers in the 1970s, I think it was. I actually remember that issue because it revealed that Luke Cage's dad was actually part of the original Mighty Avengers. Yeah, Marvel Comics gets complicated with its continuity. Shock. And then there was he's teamed with Spider-Man numerous times. He was a part of S.H.I.E.L.D., technically. He was part of MI-13. He was part of a special, basically, superhero Black Ops group. What were they called? So when you read the wiki just like nonstop, you lose a few things. But there were a whole bunch of groups that Blade has been a part of. And all the while, he's still trying to do various things, including, keep Dracula down for good, because, Dracula, they might be thinking, wait a minute, if he killed Dracula multiple times, how is he still alive? Well, because he's Dracula, he keeps getting resurrected by his followers. Loyalty, I guess. But, and also, you gotta keep bringing him back. But there's also other vampires that he fought, including, was it Varney, who was the first vampire? In fact, it was Varney who kicked off the blood hunt in recent Marvel comics, the one that turned Miles Morales into a vampire. And he actually possessed Blade to help kill a lot of the Marvel superheroes that would help stop the blood hunt instantly. So, yeah, nice job, Blade. But yeah, so Blade's been around a long time. Because of that, he is well-versed in the art of killing in all sorts of ways. Not the least of which is with his various blades. As the preview noted, he's got basically secondhand adamantium swords, which can slice through Ultron and the Hulk, and those guys, they're a lot. He's got super strength, which can help him, lift over 100 tons. Was it 100 tons? 1,000 tons? One of those things. He can lift, all right? He's got a crazy healing factor. He's got armor that can stop bullets and other attacks. He has certain... Okay, this one's, I argue, is debatable. He has certain resistances to things like possession, even though he was just possessed in Blood Hunt. He helped fight back in certain ways. So he has, again, some resistances to such like that. He can't be fully turned into a vampire because he's a Dhampir. The in-canon reason that he had resistances was actually because of Michael Morbius, as I mentioned earlier. And Michael's specific vampiric enzymes, because he was an atypical vampire himself, allowed Blade to, resist everything. But there are other built-in resistances. Plus, he's got the mad, crazy, superhuman senses. In fact, Wolverine, who was also mentioned in the preview, Wolverine noted that his senses are arguably on par with him, and he also has a healing factor that's close to Wolverine's. However, he cannot regenerate limbs, but he can heal from damage almost near instantly. Useful. Going back to his senses, his senses can sense literally anyone around him. He can determine if someone is supernatural or not just by their smell. So he can smell their blood basically and realize, oh, they got magic in their blood, which might be helpful against a certain slayer. Just saying. And so on and so forth. So throughout his journey in Marvel Comics, Blade continuously fought on the side of good while also trying to undo all the damage that was being done by the supernatural. And that led him, of course, to being part of the Avengers groups and S.H.I.E.L.D. and teaming up with Spider-Man and all these other heroes. But it was not always easy, including arguably his greatest fight, which was not against Dracula, but against an eldritch god named Adena. A-D-A-N-A. So this eldritch god was so powerful that she was able to basically trick Blade multiple times into helping her. So, Blade's not the smartest tool in the shed. Get it? Blade, tool, anyway. So there was a massive prophecy going on about all that Adena would do if she was released. And so there was a secret order of assassins that gave their top assassin the blade to kill her, and Blade killed the dude. Oops! So she was able to, release her full power onto the world, which was bad. Yeah. So Blade then had to try and find a weapon that could kill her so he could do it himself, and that was the Lightbringer, which was the blade of Lucifer, a literal flaming sword. And that was also part of Adena's plan because she just wanted the blade for herself. Oops. So it was in this moment, there's a reason I'm telling the story, because in that moment, Blade realized, I'm not enough to beat Adena. I need help. So who does he go to for help? Does he go to the Avengers? No, he doesn't go to the Avengers. Does he form his own supergroup? Does he form the Midnight Suns, which he actually helped form originally? No, he doesn't go to them. He goes to Dracula. Yeah, he goes to Dracula, and Dracula makes him realize, like, look, you're half vampire, we get that, but you're holding yourself back through your hatred of vampires, all right? So you are not unleashing your full power and potential. So Blade got training from Dracula to basically be a more killer entity. Not a vampire, he's still very much human, or half human, but he learned to harness his vampiric abilities even greater. So he got even greater strength, even greater speed, the ability to turn into bats, a wolf, and dust. All right, technically it's like a black mist, but it's basically dust. And you're thinking, well, why would he turn into dust? Well, because then he can go into beings like vampires and explode them from the inside. So think Ant-Man, but with dust and just going through any orifice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So through this power-up, he was able, with the help of others, to defeat Adena, bringing her reign to an end. But this also helped set up the Blood Hunt, and Blade had to basically resign himself to the fact that he unintentionally helped bring all these Eldritch horrors onto the planet. And so he dedicated himself, along with his allies, to help defeat this, which also, again, led to the Blood Hunt, where he was possessed, but then he fought back, and then he was exorcised. Yeah, it's a thing. But Blade's still there. Blade's still rocking it with all of his weapons and all of his abilities, and he's never going to stop fighting these vampires, because some assholes are always trying to ice skate uphill. I actually had to tell somebody why that line made sense in context, because we were talking about on the NFL Discord, and it's like, who says that? And I'm like, look, it's a dumb line, even though it's factually accurate, but they've said it in a way, thanks to Wesley Snipes, that it made it sound 90s cool. Because no one says that. Like, no one says this kind of thing in natural conversation, but because he said it, Wesley Snipes said it in such a way, that made it iconic. Go figure. And now, we turn our eyes and attention to the tale of Buffy and Summers. Yes, Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. Her tale is far more complex than you think, and not for the reasons you would expect. So her tale begins via a TV movie, actually. That's why you saw two different actresses play Buffy at the beginning, and why Donald Sutherland was mysteriously in this video, preview video. So Buffy comes from a long line of slayers, destined individuals who are given special abilities to help fight against vampires, demons, and other denizens of hell. So early on, thanks to her trainer Merrick, Donald Sutherland, she learned the basics of slaying and would go on to defeat certain monsters and demons, even though it, burned down her school. Now, one thing they didn't mention in the preview video, which I find infinitely hilarious, is that after that incident, when things were kind of, in chaos in Buffy's life, she revealed to her parents what really happened what she did. She actually told them what really happened at the school, and her parents thought, oh my God, our daughter is nuts. So they had Buffy committed to an insane asylum. And within this asylum, Buffy came to the realization, hey, maybe I shouldn't tell people about this. I love it. But yeah, so after a few weeks in the insane asylum, she was let out. Her parents actually divorced, and that's when her mother, Joyce, took Buffy to Sunnydale, California. And there she lived happily ever after, normal life, nothing else bad happened. Don't you wish? If that was the case, we already know who wins. But no, sadly, Sunnydale was over a rift known as a Hellmouth, where basically the realms of Earth and Hell are touching, and thus stuff can go up. That sounded dirty, I apologize. And thus, Buffy's true Slayer journey began alongside her friends, Willow, Dawn, Giles, not talking about the jerk dude, Spike, Angel, Faith, and certain others that they would meet on along the way. And thus was born the Scooby Gang. Yes, really. And I'm pretty sure the only reason they got away with that was because Buffy debuted on WB, who of course owns Scooby-Doo. I'm just saying. So throughout her journey, which was much longer than you might realize, even longer than the preview talked about, because 128 novels, that still only covers part of it, because as you saw in the preview, there's a lot of comics, and the comics were extensive. I mean, half the wiki was about the comics. So as Buffy's journey went on, she would have to fight all sorts of creatures, including other Slayers, the magical councils, various primordial threats, and so on and so forth. But arguably the thing that I personally appreciate about Buffy's journey, and I guess the TV show and the comics and novels, was that they didn't shy away from the fact that Buffy was affected by her journey. Here's what I mean by that. First of all, she dies twice. Technically 4 times, but canonically twice. Technically it's more. Comics and television. But she dies twice, but also the act of saving the day, saving the city, saving the world, it had a profound effect on her that she had to adapt to. For example, after one particular world-ending crisis that she saved, she basically was ostracized from her family, from her friends, and whatever. So she straight up left Sunnydale. She tried to have a new life as Anne and just be a normal girl. But of course, that couldn't happen. And she eventually went back to Sunnydale. In another season of the show, her mother Joyce died via brain aneurysm. And so at this point, Buffy was in college, and she had to drop out to take care of her retcon sister Dawn. I never understood the retcon sister. They said like her memories were implanted anyway. But she had to do that. She in the comics, she had to basically become the foremost authority on magic, even literally writing the book on rules of magic. She became the target of the military. She became target of other slayers. She became the target of all sorts of monsters. And Buffy had to adapt to that. And that's still not even talking about her really, really complicated relationships with Angel and Spike, among others, obviously. But I appreciate this because it's like, oh, she's a Slayer, she's just going to keep going forward. It's a little more complicated than that. Yeah. As a writer, I appreciate such emotional depth. So, but with her friends and her enemies and her frenemies and everything in between, it's like in this show especially, it's like everything in between. Buffy would save the day, save the world, save the universe, even when it came at great personal cost and turmoil. Including in one point in the comics, she actually, I'm pretty sure it was comics, she destroyed the magic seed, which literally rid the entire world of magic. Like, straight up. I actually think that was a television show. Anyway. But yeah, she basically created a world without magic, and then the world had to adapt to that, which was bad news for Buffy at various points. And then magic did come back, and then she had to again helm the new rules of magic, even starting a magic. She was the president of a magic council. Yeah, she was President Buffy. Take that, Blade. You were only the sheriff of a vampire town. He was. It was funny. But Buffy had to overcome numerous trials, learn various things, and save the world, even when it meant literally losing her entire hometown at one point. Yeah, Sunnydale is gone. I love it. So, in fact, that was the series finale of Buffy at one in terms of the television show. Her hometown is destroyed, and the question was, "Hey, Buffy, what are you going to do now?" And her answer was, "Yeah." She just smiled, and that's how the series ended. Until we get to the comics, where things continued, including the I almost call it the Twilight Saga. The bouts with Twilight, there you go. Who was actually Angel in disguise. Don't get me started on that, dude. Or Spike. Yeah, this was definitely a product of the 90s and 2000s when it came to the relationships. Oh, it hurts. But through her bouts, especially in the comics, Buffy got a power-up. And beyond the power-up that they even talked about in the preview, because obviously we still got more to discuss. You see, Buffy had affected her universe so much in terms of her career that she gained powers from the universe. Yeah. The universe itself said, Buffy, you're going to get these powers. So Slayers, in a natural sense, are blessed with super strength, speed, healing, senses, and more. But because of the universe, I can't get over that. The universe guaranteeing her powers, her strength, speed, and agility were increased. And then she got a level of invulnerability. She could still die, as the comics at that point specifically said she was going to die at one point until someone else saved her. But she had, let's just call it, increased resistances, It's like Wolverine. Wolverine's nigh invulnerable, but he can still die if you do certain kinds of damage to him. So, it's like that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the infamous intercourse scene with Buffy and Angel happened, where they went through the mountain. Because Buffy can fly. Of course she can. She's Buffy. Universe powers activate. I can fly. Yeah. So that happened, and it's debatable where she technically still has those powers, but I'm going to say that she does in this context, because there's no reason to. She had it for a good chunk of time. All right, so not like other things in Death Battle. As long as you have it for a decent amount of time, you should be able to use it. Unlike times where she actually channeled all of the powers of all of the Slayers in the world, and that allowed her to defeat an entity, and then she gave the powers back. Like that was caused by a specific spell that someone else casted, so that doesn't count. But the universe powers, that counts. And because of this, she actually saved the world from various gods and entities, and a reckoning that was actually affecting the world 200 years into the future. So of course we gotta have time travel, and she basically set things right for 200 years. Not bad for a girl from California. Thanks for sharing, Michelle Geller. Yeah. So if this sounds like this is nuts and crazy and hard to determine, we're only 23 minutes into the video. I'm actually glad this is going shorter this time, because usually I'm almost at 30 minutes at this point. So, who wins in a fight between Blade and Buffy? This is really hard to determine, because Buffy has... I'm just going to be honest here. I'm pretty sure Buffy has more lore than Blade, which is not something I expected going into this. But just because you have more lore does not mean that you are going to win. And the same with characters who have more lore and thus have more bullcrap to show off, like, Green Lantern versus Hal Jordan, or Green Lantern versus Ben 10. I mean, come on. Silver Age to the rescue. So, here's the thing. On many levels, they are equal. For example, they have many supernatural abilities and superhuman abilities. They both have refined senses, super strength, super healing, agility, etc., etc. Blade can't fly, but he is known to jump hundreds of feet into the air, so that wouldn't be too hard to keep up with Buffy. Plus, she's going to have to come down to him anyway. I was going to make a mountain joke here, but it will not. So that's no. Blade has better senses. Buffy was unable to determine that some of her friends were actually vampires. Probably should have been able to detect that. Meanwhile, Blade can detect vampires and other supernatural beings from like a great distance. Even She-Hulk was impressed by that. So, he even though they would be able to always tell where each other is by their senses, he would be able to tell more. They also have counters to each other very easily. Blade is not a vampire, so Buffy's natural vampire methods would not work on him, including stakes and holy water, sunlight, whatever. But blades, and certain other things would have difficulty with Buffy because of her universe power. I mean, I love calling it that. Buffy's universe powers, and increasing her skills. But because of the Dracula training and power up, now he's got an amp. And that doesn't include certain other things, like you could argue that he gets the Lucifer sword because he used that to defeat Adena. He also had the Darkhold at one time, which he actually used to imprison Zarathos. Ghost Rider, the true Ghost Rider. So there's a lot to consider here. Their speed, as based on the previews, are at least faster than light, if not faster. Both have healing factors. I'd argue Blades is better, but with the universe powers, who knows? Buffy has magic, but that's not her thing. She is a natural slayer, but it's usually Willow or some of the others who cast the spells. But she does have some magic, but so does Blade. Sorry, phone went off. So does Blade. So it's like, So how doth one kill a Blade or a Slayer? Ironically, it might come down to simply who can kill who first, and in a way that the other can't avoid. Here's why I'm saying that. Both of them are experienced, but key among them, from the TV series, the books, and the comics, and I have a picture to prove this. Hold on, let me bring this up. Buffy has been a slave for 15 years, okay? And it said, this is from the wiki. Buffy directly killed at least 323 adversaries, including 200 vampires, over 100 demons, 9 humans, among other creatures. Her major victories include the Masters in the Forces of Evil, Lothos, the Master Angel, when he went bad, Adam, Caleb, D'Hoffren, and Hearth Frey. I don't even remember some of those names from the wiki. So yeah, that's a thing. But Blade has been doing this for almost 100 years canonically. Remember, he was born in 1929. So he's seen stuff that even Buffy hasn't seen. And while she has fought the Masters of the Forces of Evil, so has Blade. He fought Lilith, who is the queen of all monsters. He's fought numerous demons. He fought an eldritch god in Adena. He's fought Dracula numerous times over. Varney, who's the first vampire. And so on and so on. Again, he fought were-roosters. Really, Marvel? He also lost to the rare roosters, but we're not going to talk about that. So again, it's really a question about who could put who down first. And as ironic as it is, it might simply come down to one power, and that's Black Mist. I saw the comic page. I did. It was actually posted in the Death Bell Discord, so love you guys. In the Death Bell Discord, they posted a page where Blade is taking on vampires alongside one of his allies, and he goes, watch this. He turns into dust. The dust goes into the vampires, and he blows them up. Buffy, I don't think, has a counter to that. I really don't think she has a counter to that. It must be stated that both Blade and Buffy are mortal. Okay, Blade has nearly died a few times. I'm pretty sure he's died at least once. It's Marvel, everyone dies. Just don't remember the specific circumstances. Of course, he's been possessed and everything, but he and Buffy are both mortals. So even though they have higher resistances and invulnerabilities, they're still human. So, for example, blades are secondhand titanium, which can pierce the Hulk, and Ultron, who in certain continuities is made of like the toughest metals possible, and yet these blades can pierce them. He's also got guns. So range is absolutely on his side. And yes, I know Buffy's got a rocket launcher, but so does Blade as of Deadpool and Wolverine. You're welcome. So, that Blade could keep her at bay long enough to do the dust trick and then go into her, that sounds dirty, infect her, there you go, and kill her. I think. Okay, I'm going to be honest here. If Buffy does win, I'm not going to be surprised because that's crap ton of lore. Okay? I mean, 128 novels plus, what was it, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 or 5 seasons of a comic series, like true seasons of a comic series, plus the TV show, which got buck wild. There's a lot. There's a lot going on. But as much as Buffy scales a certain way, I still think Marvel scales higher, at least in this case. So, just like there's only going to be one Blade, there's only going to be one winner, and it's Blade. Slayer? I barely know her! Alright, and with that, we're ending this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win between Blade and Buffy, and how do you think it's going to win? Okay, also, remember when I said the whole... the live action fight was totally not going to be able to cover everything. They're totally not going to do the dust thing. If they do, I'm going to be stunned. Like, that's going to be awesome. And I will be stunned. Just please do the death better this time. I did not like Red Hood Winter Soldier's death. Really. But yeah, let me know how you think the live action fight is going to go, because I think this is going to be really, really cool. I really, really do. So let me know in the comments below. So I thank you for watching. You made it as far. I know you were listening. And I'll see you around.